Troublemakers, it is time to reopen the woodshed. We are letting in some light, we are letting in some air, and we are making room for our next permanent resident. She's never getting out. One, Lena Dunham, currently befouling Netflix with her new show, an alleged rom-com based on her own life. She says semi-autobiographical. I think it's like 90% autobiographical. Just my opinion. It's called Too Much. It's a double entendre, but don't you dare acknowledge that. Otherwise, you're being politically incorrect. Lena's going to have your head. But, you know, she's locked up in the woodshed. What could she do? Okay. Anyway, this show is terrible. And, you know, this is a bold statement, I know, but it might be worse than In Just Like That. It might be worse than In Just Like That. And you know what I'm going off of? The comment section on Vulture, which is a self-selecting group of fans of artists like this, women like this, actresses like this, so-called auteurs like this. You know, and just like that, each episode will generate among the commentariat between 400 to 500 comments per episode. And that's substantial. And then I went over to see Lena's comment section. And aside from the season premiere, the series premiere, which maybe had 4 comments, the rest of the reviews have 0 comments. So people can't even really be like bothered to hate watch Lena. I mean, I can. I'm going to report to you from the front lines. I took some shrapnel for you, but you know, this is the kind of relationship we're at. This is the stage of our relationship where I will take the shrapnel. You know, so, but the thing that kind of really is fascinating to me is you've got Lena Dunham, still active in the culture. You've got Sarah Jessica Parker, still active in the culture, and they have both fused with their fictional creations, and it is a body horror epic for the ages. And both, by the way, both were birthed over at HBO corporate, so they've got a lot to answer for. I think, though, I do think this is my supposition that HBO obviously had a first look deal with Lena. You know, she signed with them with Girls, and that was a cultural hit for them. I don't think it was ever really a mainstream hit, but I am sure she had a first look deal. And it seems like HBO has passed on just about every Lena project. I mean, they hired her to direct the series premiere of Industry. You guys know I'm a fan of that show, but it had her typical grossness in it, her typical weird sexual grossness in it, and they cut her loose. Just my supposition. Anyway. Lena has been carpet bombing the culture while promoting this vulgarity. And I'm just speaking in terms of art, really. I mean, it's vulgar and it's gross, and we'll get to it. But in terms of art, it's just, it's an abomination. She's on the cover of Variety, and she did an interview with them as well, which is hilarious because she's doing Q&As. And again, like, we're not supposed to mention how medically, morbidly obese she is. And it's disturbing on many levels, and I'll get into that, you know, but the broad stroke is she's trying to normalize something that can only lead to comorbidities that will kill you young. Sorry. It's not a healthy thing. It's not to be celebrated. But she's always like, I'm happy, like whatever size I am. And, you know, and she's sitting there with these cards, and she's being sure to, like, I'm wearing the snake ring, by the way, because I'm coiled to strike. She's got her pinkies out, like she's, so just a delicate flower, and her nails are manicured. And don't tell me she doesn't care about how she looks, as she often says. So she's everywhere: magazines, podcasts, New York Times, Vogue, Variety, social media, for her awful, flat, unfunny, physically revolting show. Often, and by design, revolting. And I am now convinced more than ever that one Judd Apatow, who helped midwife Girls into what it was, I think he was the creative glue. I think he was the sophisticate in the room and understood how to execute. And, you know, not for nothing, he has not been seen anywhere near Lena Dunham for years, which tells you something. It's often the people who you don't see and the voices who are no longer speaking, the people who have disappeared. That tells you everything. Okay. Okay. So the Times review, Mike, I died. I hadn't seen it, but our amazing producer, Marlena, was like, hey, have you seen this? The New York Times review. It's not nervy enough. It's not nervy enough. Interesting word. Do you think that's a wink and a nod to us? Do you think we troublemakers are having an impact already on the culture? Okay, so I'm going to give you a sampling of dialogue. Okay, here is the notebook in which I wrote this down. I do it analog, and I just could not believe the stuff that was she wrote this show. She wrote this dialogue, and she also stars in the show. She has a supporting role as the sister of the character that's based on Lena Dunham. Now, the Lena Dunham character is played by I use this word loosely, actress named Meg Stalter, who you may know from Hacks. Excellent show. Last season, a little spotty, but really excellent show. I highly recommend it. If you loved Joan Rivers, you will love Hacks. But she plays this Nepo baby of a very powerful Hollywood agent, and she's very broad and flat and comedically in that show. And I often wondered, is she getting directed this way because everybody around her is so good? No, she's this limited. She's this limited. But I guess there's really not that many people out there who resemble Lena Dunham that much. And so Meg Stalter it is. Now I'm going to give you a sampling again, as I said, of the dialogue. This is from an episode. This is episode number 4, the title is called Notting Kill. And by the way, Lena Dunham, her character, again, she's writing herself, I believe. She seems, okay, so Lena, the thing that makes Lena so insufferable is she comes from this very privileged background and this very sophisticated upbringing in New York City. But she acts as though, and I believe this may be true, her entire knowledge of England, of Britain, of British culture comes from 90s rom-coms, and she hasn't seen anything that dates past 1990, or dates before, excuse me. And so she steps off the plane, just off the turnip truck, and she's like, oh my God, it's Buckingham Palace. Oh my God. It's I'm in a pub. I'm renting a flat. It's like that. It's so. Okay. Now, in episode 4, Lena, who is, surprise, surprise, having trouble fitting in, she's at a sophisticated dinner party thrown by her boss, who really hates her for obvious, legit reasons we will get into. His wife is played by Naomi Watts. What Naomi Watts is doing in this, I have no idea. Naomi, have a deep, long conversation with your agent. You're better than this. Naomi is playing this very eccentric but very sophisticated British woman. She, just beautifully dressed. Home is filled with modern art. It's, whatever. So Lena is seated next to the Naomi character at this dinner. Again, the wife of her boss. And I'm going to warn you, some of this dialogue, it's graphic. And, but it has to be heard to be believed and to prove our case, to prosecute Lena Dunham. Okay. Here she says, unbidden to the Naomi Watts character, quote, some days I'll wake up and I'm on top of the world. Other days I'm waking up and my piss hole's like burning fire. She calls her mother to rave about the boyfriend that she's met 10 days prior, who has no job, no money, no real place to live, a drug habit that may or may not be active, whose sexuality seems complicated, to say the least. And her mother says, you got to cut this guy loose. Don't even get any deeper. This is a non-starter. And the Lena character takes great umbrage. And she says to her mother, this is a FaceTime. So imagine, it's a FaceTime. Says to her mother, why don't you ask me questions like, does he fuck you from behind in a respectful way? If you have kids, turn it off. If they're around, if there are small ones around, turn it off. She continues, does he finger blast you? Does he know how to finger bang? Why don't you ask me questions like that? We get a close up on a full toilet for no reason. There's never a reason, but we get a close up. Look at this. This is again, if you're listening, you may be sparing yourself and not watching it, but there's a close up on Lena's face doing a FaceTime call with her sister, who's in the back of a cab in London. And Lena's face is posited right between her sister's open legs. And look at the expression on Lena's face. And if you don't think this woman knows exactly what she's doing, because as we well know, and I pulled out the book because I got it when it was published years ago, her memoir, Not That Kind of Girl. I mean, talk about a double entendre. She writes in the book, I pulled it out. I went back and looked of her sister. Lest I forget the chapter on Barry, the guy she falsely accused of rape in that chapter, a real guy who she had to apologize to. Here she is on her sister. I'm going to read it. Her sister Grace, who in one interview she called her brother. And I was going, why is Lena Dunham has a brother? And then I realized, oh no, like the sister transitioned in the pages of the New Yorker because the only way to get attention in that family, trust me, Lena takes up all the oxygen in the room. As she grew, I'm reading from a chapter called Grace, page 150. I took to bribing her for her time and affection, $1 in quarters if I could do her makeup like a, quote, motorcycle chick. 3 pieces of candy if I could kiss her on the lips for 5 seconds. Whatever she wanted to watch on TV if she would just, quote, relax on me. Basically, anything a sexual predator might do to woo a small suburban girl, I was trying. How Lena Dunham still has work in this industry is beyond me. But, you know, we just saw what happened with Diddy. I'm not comparing her to Diddy, but, you know, pendulum seems to be swinging. Okay. Now, Lena Dunham's id is splattered all over this series, all over every available surface, like the crime scene it is. The Lena Dunham character is reprimanded at work for smelling, for physically emitting body odor. Lena herself in the show, there are several scenes of her lying in bed prone, not even like the head propped up, just like prone. And then like from the neck down, she's like wrapped up in like a huge duvet, which, you know, you got to wonder, is this her trying to like get out of being shot? You know, as she is, but she's playing this character as though she's like clinically depressed or just like an asshole, because Lena's just an asshole. And then the mother comes in and is like, you got to get out of bed and you got to take a shower. You know, you smell. And she's got huge headphones on and she's listening to Taylor Swift and she's weeping. She's playing a middle-aged mother of like an 11-year-old. In episode 5, Lena, in a scene in the kitchen, her hair is actually greasy. It's unwashed and greasy, and you can see it, and you can see the editors try to cut around this to avoid us having, the viewers having to absorb this. I mean, Lena is 39 years old in real life, okay? So we talked about the Variety interview, and in that, she says,
we did not want the show to be about Jessica's body. Like, her body's not the reason that she is single. It's also not the reason that someone wants to be with her. We worked really hard to really nail the idea that every woman, every person is self-conscious in this society about the way that they look. And how can we have that conversation without making it be sizist, without making it be ableist, making it just feel like a true expression.
That is a bunch of bullshit, because ever since she thrust herself upon an unwitting nation with girls and got naked on that show and engaged in a variety of humiliating sex acts on that show, and I believe, I remember now, she put like a much more attractive actress who was playing her ex-boyfriend in the show, his new girlfriend. She made her do some really degrading stuff. And I thought, that's the real Lena. She's fucking dark. She's ugly. She hates women and she hates herself. Now, the character based on her ex-boyfriend, Jack Antonoff, who is Taylor Swift's longtime producer and collaborator, and who dumped Lena and then very quickly, or relatively quickly, married the beautiful young actress, Margaret Qualley. So he's in this show. It's obviously Jack. And their relationship is surprise deteriorating because she is just like, you know how some diseases are treatment resistant? Lena Dunham is treatment resistant. There is no vaccine. There is no medication that will make her more palatable. And the character nails her. He says to her, you are always dressing for negative attention because you're not a Hadid sister. And then he goes on to say, it's fine not to be a Hadid sister, but just be a normal person. And then he goes on to tell her she's shallower than she'll ever admit because she's just dying to be part of a power couple. I loved it. I loved it. Now, also on this show, Lena's husband, who is, I believe, the basis for this character, she said in another interview, I've been reading too many of them, that her mother didn't meet her husband until the wedding day. He is credited as the co-creator of this show, and I believe he's the co-creator in as much as she took him for inspiration and their story for inspiration. But other than that, he did nothing. The guy is a failed musician, and he's with Lena Dunham now, and if her connections were going to make it happen, it would have happened. And also, his ex-girlfriend before Lena wound up in my algorithm. Again, thank you, algorithm. As I've said, I'm sure you will turn on me someday, and the ex-girlfriend is like a British hipster waif who is gorgeous. Okay, again. Now in the show, the boyfriend, I don't even remember his name. It's that insubstantial. He's played by Will Sharp, who was in season 2 of The White Lotus, and he was great. But even Will Sharp cannot act as though he is credibly into this woman. So in the show, like in episode 7, she tells him, she says that, like, I love you. And he says to her, I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to say that. And then she overhears him later saying, I love you to her dog multiple times. So I am stuck currently on episode 7. And this guy seems to be using the Lena character for, free food, free lodging, all kinds of humiliating sex, cheating on her, professional contacts. I mean, I think it smacks of real life to me. The Lena character has lots of unprotected sex. And when she's asked about that, she says, what is this, 1950? She went to Oberlin. She went to a fancy private school in Brooklyn called St. Anne's. And then she went to Oberlin. And she loves to fancy herself, something of a literary figure who writes for The New Yorker from time to time. Her character pronounces the word abject as an abject failure. Abject. Okay. And then the Lena character's dog, she doesn't get the dog fixed. It's a female. And so in typical asshole Lena fashion, she's giving the dog to a new friend to dog sit. And she says, listen, she free bleeds. So if she starts bleeding, just let her have at it. It's disgusting. So those are just a few examples. But so for pushing this stuff into the culture, what does Lena Dunham get? She gets a lot of star fucking from said media. I mean, here she is. Like this is but you can see that they do get the shivs in. Like this is the front page of Sunday's Arts and Leisure section in the New York Times. It's the head. Speaking of, can the women of Too Much make the rom-com just right? I mean, the answer is no, but like, look at Lena's face. Only part of it is above the fold. Okay, so here's Lena too. She did a Q&A. I think it's a cover story for Interview magazine. So the current editor-in-chief is this guy named Mel Ottenberg. This whole thing is a sacrilege to Andy Warhol's memory and work. Okay, his legacy. So he's talking to Lena for the cover story. And I pulled some key dialogue for you because it's Q&A, as is the format with Interview magazine. Lena Dunham to Mel. This is the opening. I wish the readers could see how tender you look right now. Mel, you look so amazing right now. Okay, this is some prime level. Can two people form a circle jerk? I mean it. I don't know how else to describe this. How tender. And she uses this word tender at least 3 times in this interview. And it's so affected. And literally nobody talks like this. Literally nobody talks like this, but she's using the word, oh my God. Okay. At a certain point in this interview, which is being conducted in Mel's apartment in Chelsea, I believe, they move into the bedroom. Mel's a gay man. Now, this guy is a type, okay? He is a former celebrity stylist. I believe he was just shot for, he recently did, so I read on the weekends, the Financial Times weekend edition, which is a great way to like just get everything that went on in the week and then like some cool like, arts and leisure stuff. And, because I believe in that saying, like if you want to know what the people who run the world are thinking and what they're about to do, read the financial pages. Mark Zuckerberg runs the world as much as Donald Trump does. But anyway, Mel Ottenberg did one of these things. They have this magazine called HTSI. It used to be How to Spend It. Now it's How to Save It or whatever. But there's this one section that I just think anybody who says yes to, you will never come off looking good. It's basically like they shoot you in your residence and then you tell them all your favorite things. And like 201, these people are like, it's gross. You just look like a gross person. And they did Mel Ottenberg, and his place basically looked like a Milk Studios. But I'm sure that Mel Ottenberg, this entire time that Lena's in his domicile, is thinking, just please God, do not break any of my vintage furniture. I'm sure that's the running dialogue. Again, I'm saying this because she's out there promoting this idea that morbid obesity is like a normal, healthy option. It is not. It is not part of the body positivity movement. Ask Lizzo, ask Oprah. They took the jab. And I'm not endorsing the jab. I'm just saying. Now, it is not, again, a healthy option. And the media is at fault here because they are colluding with her to push this Lena Dunham, in my opinion, I'm already moving hair around. Okay. In my opinion, she's clearly a very mentally ill woman. She writes in her book, she writes about like no shortage of mental disorders that she had as a child, including imagining her parents copulating in various unusual positions, which truly makes me wonder what went on in that home. I think it was a dark place. My theory of the case. She wrote about sex offending against her little sister, okay? But the media continues to push her in our faces as some kind of cultural icon, as a feminist heroine. And she's a sick woman. She's a sick woman who needs a lot of help, and she should just take her Netflix money and go get some inpatient treatment for quite a while, okay? But no, we're gonna go back to dainty tea and crumpets with Mel. Let's get our pinky fingers up, okay? Mel, we've moved into my bedroom. I brought 2 different kinds of cookies to my bed. People, I don't get eating in bed. Coffee, sure. Eating in bed. The cookies, he says, they're both from Cinderella, which low-key has the best cookies in town. He's trying to sound like one of the kids. He's an older guy, and also Cinderella, it's a fancy store, okay? Those cookies cost $10 for like 5. Okay. Dunham, is this where you watch TV? Mel, yes. Last night I was in here watching too much at 1:27 a.m. Dunham, that's so tender. In a later episode, do you remember, if you guys watched Fleabag, great show. Great show. The hot priest from Fleabag shows up. And of course, in Lena's world, he's just dying to have sex with her character. The stinky, unhygienic, unattractive, obnoxious, my piss hole's on fire character, this sophisticated director is dying to have sex with her. It's shades of Patrick Wilson in Girls. And she like pushed back on that hard. She was like, how dare you think a hot guy wouldn't want to fuck me? Well, we live in the real world. And all this does is serve as a reminder of what a superior show Fleabag was and is, and what a superior talent the writer, creator, star of that show, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, is. Phoebe Waller-Bridge also made Killing Eve, those first 2 seasons, but that first season especially, such a banger. I think she's off taking a well-deserved break, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So anyway, Lena Dunham, to the woodshed you go. And in the woodshed, you shall remain. And when your next cultural abomination hits, and it will, because you guys, she is shooting a project called Ever the Provocateur, this one. She's not even clever about it. She's just, it's like 8th grade humor. She's shooting a project called Good Sex with Natalie Portman as we speak. And that will probably, we're going to have the wood chipper up and running by then. We're getting like an actual wood chipper and we're going to be, you know what I mean? And we're going to be tossing a limb or two in there. Even if we have to buy two.